Life at the roof of the world, where every breath must be earned. A railway crossing 572 meters supplies oxygen inside its passenger cars. Beyond those tracks, every meal and journey carries a cost the lowlands never see. Water channel freezes overnight. Seedlings lose a week in a growing season that may last only 4 months. If a pass closes, fuel, medicine, and seed can wait hundreds of kilometers away while settlements ration what remains. I keep returning to one hard question. How can these settlements stay connected without mistaking access for control? In this video, we examine the farms, roads, railways, and high settlements built under cold wind and scarcity, and the limits that still dictate daily life. Before sunrise, the temple regarded by many Tibetan Buddhists as Tibet's most sacred already demands labor inside and out. Founded in the 7th century imperial period, the Yokang draws some worshippers across distant plateau communities for weeks or months. On paving worn smooth across generations, prostrations reduce progress to one body length. In cold, thin air, every return to the feet adds cost. Others join the clockwise circuit, then wait for brief access to revered images. Patience is measured through lungs, knees, time, and distance. At the center stands the Jowo Shakyamuni, traditionally believed to show the Buddha as a young man and linked with Princess Wencheng. Dark chapels hold statues, murals, pillars, and offerings. Worshippers add clarified yak butter to lamps, present white katas and money, and touch foreheads to thresholds. This continuity does not maintain itself. Lamps need watching, spilled butter needs cleaning, offerings, floors, queues, and fragile areas all require control. The smell of butter and incense marks an unseen shift. Monks and staff keep the crowded historic structure functioning while devotion continues. Dawn changes the light, not the terms. Pilgrims rise from the stone as monks and cleaners begin another shift. At nearly 4,000 meters, an ordinary city must do the work of a regional lifeline. Shigatse is the Tibet Autonomous Region's second largest city, linking the Sang countryside to western Tibet and the Everest Road. Trucks arrive with barley, vegetables, wool, livestock goods, and construction material. They leave carrying supplies toward villages where distance can turn a routine purchase into hours of transport. That is why banks, repair shops, depots, hospitals, schools, and government offices matter here. They compress services scattered across a vast cold plateau into one reachable center. Care still carries a price. Tibetan medicine works alongside modern hospitals, but neither can shorten the long road a rural patient may need to travel. School buses mark another costly passage. Education in Tibetan and Mandarin connects young people to urban jobs, while families absorb the fuel, time, and separation required to reach them. Beside new apartment blocks, Tashilhunpo Monastery has anchored pilgrimage for nearly 6 centuries. Farm vehicles, freight trucks, pilgrims, and tourists now press onto the same roads. Dry air, winter cold, and altitude make every wall, clinic and classroom harder to sustain. In Shigatse, each roof is shelter and a standing challenge to the sky. A railway now climbs to a city where new arrivals may need oxygen before their bodies can adjust. To reach Lhasa, the line crosses permafrost and the Tangula Pass at more than 5,000 meters. Since reaching Lhasa in 2006, the route has forced railway engineering to negotiate with ground that can shift as it thaws. Elevated track, insulated roadbeds, tubes that pull heat from the ground, wildlife passages, and constant monitoring keep the rails within narrow limits. Passenger cars add supplemental oxygen because passengers climb from lowland cities faster than their bodies can acclimatize. At the terminus, porters and station crews sort arrivals: students, patients, families, workers, officials, and visitors. Freight carries what altitude makes expensive: food, fuel, machinery, mail, and construction material. Rail has cut the burden of hauling heavy cargo by long highways, supplying hospitals, shops, and rapid building. But speed carries pressure too. More visitors, migration, market competition, and construction push against housing and urban services that cannot expand without cost. A hospital meal or shop delivery in Lhasa may begin hundreds of kilometers away, with thawing ground held steady and oxygen carried uphill. The first labor of a Lhasa morning is not opening a shop. It is drawing enough oxygen from the air. Lhasa wakes at about 3,650 meters, where frost, dust, low humidity, and fierce ultraviolet light press on every routine. The Kichu Valley and its mountains cut some wind, but they cannot thicken the atmosphere. Long-term residents function normally. Recent arrivals may face headaches, poor sleep, breathlessness, and slow climbs upstairs. Before offices open, pilgrims circle clockwise, sanitation crews clear lanes, restaurant workers prepare tea, and shopkeepers raise metal shutters. Then buses, bicycles, scooters, and delivery vehicles feed schools, hospitals, workshops, construction sites, and government offices. Altitude does not stop the city. It charges more effort for each task. The old city also carries a sharp modern tension. Whitewashed courtyard houses share the valley with apartments, universities, electric vehicles, mobile payments, and shopping centers. Incense and prayer wheels can give way within minutes to school traffic and hospital queues. Tourism, public employment, migration, and commerce all depend on streets that begin working in frozen air. The discipline is easy to miss because it looks ordinary. By breakfast, shutters are up and households are working the city's daily answer to air that makes each task costlier. City of Study rose where keeping a small room warm was already hard labor. Larungar stands near Sirtar at roughly 4,000 meters. Its dense red cabins built to hold one of the world's largest centers of Tibetan Buddhist learning. Founded in 1980 by Khenpo Jigme Phuntsok, the community organized time around teachings, memorization, debate, recitation, ritual, and long private study. But thought at altitude needs a supply chain. Food, water, Fuel, medicine, and building material had to climb steep paths and stairs. Electricity, heating, waste removal, healthcare, and fire prevention had to keep pace. The cabins solved one problem by placing students close to instruction. Their tight spacing sharpened others, especially sanitation and fire risk, in a cold valley of thin air. Scholarship here was never separate from plumbing, fuel, roads, or lungs. Every hour of study rested on physical work most classrooms conceal. Beginning in 2016, demolitions, relocations, enrollment limits, and tighter residency controls changed both the population and the built landscape. Older images may show a materially different Loranggar. The altered red footprint proves that disciplined faith still depends on heat, supply roads, safe housing, and permission. One of Tibet's busiest markets moves in only one direction, because devotion sets the traffic. Barkhor is the clockwise circuit around the Yokong Temple, binding pilgrims, workers, deliveries, and commerce to the same narrow route. Some worshippers turn prayer wheels or count beads. Others advance by full-body prostration, hands, knees, forehead, then one body length forward. At Lhasa's altitude, repetition carries a physical cost. Thin air makes every rise from the stone more demanding, but the circuit keeps its direction. Monks, office workers, residents, families, and visitors must enter or cross this human current. No private lane exists for ordinary urban life. Around them, shops sell butter lamps, incense, beads, clothing, groceries, medicine, and modern footwear. Bargaining ends with mobile payments beside temple queues and security checks. Stock must squeeze through lanes built long before vans and electric carts. Sanitation crews lift waste and spilled offerings without breaking the flow. Pilgrimage feeds trade, while tourism and regulation reshape rents, merchandise, access, and the street's appearance. The sacred route survives only through constant physical management. The circuit appears self-ordering. It is not. Devotion holds its line because workers keep one crowded direction open. The valley became a major center of Buddhist practice on ground too wet and cold for easy settlement. At its peak, estimates placed Yarchangar above 10,000 residents at roughly 4,000 meters, with women forming the clear majority. Many nuns lived in small wooden huts or retreat shelters set across low, marshy ground. Their days joined teaching, recitation, meditation, cooking, cleaning, fuel collection, and solitary practice. Retreat suggested withdrawal. Survival demanded connection. Food, water, fuel, and construction material still had to pass along narrow paths. Distance from medical care made every failure of heat, sanitation, or supply more costly. Cold and wind pressed from above. Mud and river water restricted building below. Smoke from heating remained part of the price of keeping a wooden shelter usable. Find the contradiction severe. Solitary discipline depended on an entire valley carrying sacks, clearing paths, preparing food, and keeping fuel moving through thin air. Since 2019, extensive intervention has cleared large areas of housing, while many residents were removed, relocated, or prevented from returning. At Yarchangar, Each tiny hut carried the same blunt fact. Faith could seek isolation, but each shelter still answered to weather, supply lines, and state power. Modern tools cross Litang's grasslands, but not one of them can produce winter pasture. At about 4,000 meters in Cam, within present-day Sichuan, herds face hard wind, hail, sudden cold, and snow that can hide their food. Yaks carry dense coats and large lungs, use oxygen efficiently, and graze coarse plants. Even so, they still depend on seasonal grass and open water. Herders move and count animals, milk females, make butter and dried cheese, repair gear, collect dung for fuel, and store fodder. Winter makes each task necessary. Motorcycles cut the distance across open pasture. Phones coordinate families or summon help. Trucks carry products to distant markets, and solar panels bring light and power to seasonal camps. These tools remove hours of labor, not dependence. A storm can still scatter animals, while damaged grass or changing snowfall can narrow the next move. Mobility is also negotiated through fencing, grazing limits, conservation programs, schooling, and settlement policies. Each rule changes when families move and who can remain with the herd. When winter closes in, the calculation is concrete. Enough pasture, open water, healthy animals, and people able to reach them. No device can supply missing grass. Salt begins below the terraces, so every batch must first be carried uphill. At Yanjing, brine from wells beside the upper Mekong is carried onto clay-topped timber terraces, where sun and dry air remove the water. The method is simple. The labor is not. Each batch must be spread thin, protected from rain, scraped into crystals, sorted, and packed. Then the clay bed must be prepared for another cycle. Women have traditionally carried much of this load, moving between riverside wells and steep terraces where every return trip demands more labor. Spale and reddish salt can emerge from differences in minerals, soil, and handling. Every color records a physical condition, not decoration. The terraces also stand on a weakness: timber, rot, shifting ground, floods, or rain can weaken the supports or dilute an unfinished batch before it earns anything. For roughly 1,300 years, this work-fed exchange linked to T-horse road networks. Paved roads and trucks now move the product faster, but they also bring cheap industrial salt into the same market. The next batch still begins at the river, on an uphill carry beneath terraces that may not survive the next flood. Highway drops nearly 1,800 meters by folding the mountain into one blind corner after another. The Nujiang 72 turns descend from Yella Pass toward the New River Valley. The bend count varies, but the grade does not. For truck drivers, the descent begins before the wheels move. Loads, tires, chains, and brakes must be checked wherever the narrow road gives enough room. Low gear lets the engine restrain the truck. Relying on brakes alone can build heat through the long descent, cutting the margin at every switchback. Then weather removes what little margin remains. Fog can hide the next bend, ice can strip traction, and rockfall or landslides can block the driving line. Road crews turn that exposure into labor. They clear snow and stone, repair pavement and barriers, brace slopes, and reopen sections when the mountain interrupts the route. This is not traffic for its own sake. Food, medicine, mail, fuel, machinery, students, workers, buses, and ambulances all depend on Highway 318, with few easy alternatives. One closure stretches far beyond the stranded vehicles. It delays clinics, shops, schools, work sites, and homes across eastern Tibet. Here, every bend converts mountain height into fuel, wear, labor, and delay. A valley famous for spring blossom can lose its fruit before the season has properly begun. Around Nyingchi, monsoon moisture enters through the Yarlung-Sangpo corridor, feeding forests, river terraces, and orchards, while colder, drier country begins farther west. The peach blossom season draws crowds, but flowers do not pay by themselves. Families prune branches, spread manure, reopen irrigation channels after winter, and prepare the fields. Barley, wheat, rapeseed, vegetables, and fruit fill narrow plots between slopes, roads, and settlements. Each crop depends on soil, sun, water, and elevation. Then the margin can vanish. A late frost can spoil blossom before fruit forms. Hail, hard rain, flooding, or slope failure can erase weeks of labor. This is why the village economy reaches beyond the orchard. Guest houses, restaurants, drivers, temporary stalls, construction jobs, transport work, and public employment spread the risk. Roads and online sales connect produce to urban buyers, turning a brief harvest into cash beyond the valley. Yet every link still begins with repaired channels, healthy trees, and weather that holds. The blossom is only a promise. Income follows if repaired channels, healthy trees, household labor, and a few stable weeks carry it through to fruit. A sacred lake can dominate the land and still leave almost nowhere to live. Yamdrok Yumpso branches through high valleys at about 4,400 meters, squeezing villages between steep slopes, pasture, road, and shoreline. The open water suggests abundance. On land, frost and thin soil allow only hardy crops, while sheep, goats, cattle, and yaks convert sparse grass into food, wool, and income. Summer is not leisure. Families cut fodder, sort wool, and dry dung for fuel before snow and depleted grazing make each animal more expensive to keep. Water, cloud, sediment, and wind change the lake's color, but its deeper limit is seasonal. Cold shortens the window for nearly every household task. Yamdrok also carries sacred weight. Nearby Samding Monastery is tied to the Dorje Phagmo line of female incarnations, and many communities have traditionally restricted or avoided fishing. The road adds another economy: food stalls, guest houses, souvenirs, and posed animal photographs. It also brings traffic, litter, shoreline pressure, and income that fades when visitors do. The hard arithmetic sits beneath each roof: fodder stored, fuel dried, grazing left, weeks before frost. At Yamdrok, even sacred water cannot cancel the cost of breathing and eating at altitude. Thousands of chambers cut into cliffs can require ropes just to reach an entrance. Above Nepal's Kali Gandaki Basin, these openings served as homes, stores, retreats, and monastic rooms over long periods. Upper Mustang lies in northern Nepal's Himalayan rain shadow, in the former kingdom of Lo. Its language, Tibetan Buddhist institutions, mud brick buildings, and caravan history connect it to Tibet without making it part of Tibet. The caves do not record one purpose or one era. Repeated use left pottery, jewelry, manuscripts, paintings, and ritual objects inside the cliff. Recovering and protecting that material is physical work. Unstable sediment shifts underfoot, and teams may need ropes simply to cross the exposed face. Below, Lo Manthang and other settlements survived through walls, irrigation, livestock, agriculture, and trade. In this cold desert, wind strips expose surfaces while scarce water decides where fields and homes can hold. Controlled permits have long limited access. Caravans carried costly supplies. New roads bring jeeps, trucks, motorcycles, cement, fuel, and food faster, lowering transport costs while changing old routes, building materials, and tourism. Upper Mustang's caves preserve centuries of adaptation, but homes face the test outside: wind, erosion, scarce water, and the price of every load. Here, the plateau stops being self-contained. The Yarlung Sangpo bends around nearly 7,800-meter Namcha Barwa, runs through about 500 kilometers of canyon beneath immense crests, and carries plateau water towards South Asia. It is widely described as the world's deepest canyon. Tectonic uplift raises the land while the river cuts through rising rock. Monsoon moisture enters from South Asia. Forests and waterfalls fill lower valleys, while alpine conditions take over near the crests across little horizontal distance. Human settlement is squeezed onto the few stable margins. Villages, footpaths, bridges, and roads occupy narrow ground between steep slopes and the river. Landslides, earthquakes, floods, and isolation make every crossing costly to build and costly to keep open. A supply route can narrow to a single exposed line. Downstream, this water becomes the Siang and then the Brahmaputra, linking the canyon to heavily populated regions of India and Bangladesh. Announced hydropower plans now add engineering on an immense scale. Proposed energy gains are weighed against damaged habitats, seismic risk, shifting sediment, relocation, and downstream water. Here, keeping one bridge open is local endurance. Changing the river at this scale would carry consequences across borders and generations. Kingdom packed a principal center into a ridge that is still coming apart. Saparang's caves, homes, temples, storerooms, offices, tunnels, and citadel climbed through one narrow ridge, serving Guj, a kingdom that emerged around 1,000 years ago. The climb was not symbolic. Stairs, confined ledges, and passages separated daily life by height, turning elevation into architecture and authority. Harsh ground also created leverage. Guj controlled routes linking western Tibet with Ladakh, Kashmir, and northern India. feeding trade, diplomacy, scholarship, and temples. Lotes had to climb, but texts and artistic influences crossed the ridge. Surviving murals joined Tibetan Buddhist subjects with forms carried through Himalayan and South Asian networks. Portuguese Jesuit Antonio de Andrade established a brief mission here in the 17th century, proof that distance did not sever contact. Ladakh took control in 1630, and Saparang faded as a political center. Later political upheaval, runoff, and unstable sediment removed more of the settlement. The old defense has become the modern weakness. Wind and water now cut through the steep ridge, while conservators protect fragile paintings inside eroding walls. At Saparang, every surviving room proves the same hard point. Even shelter was a direct challenge to wind, unstable earth, and time. Punakha's fortress owes both its strategic position and its repeated damage to two rivers. Punakha Dzong has stood at the meeting of the Pho Chu and Mo Chu since the 1630s at a position exposed to both channels. Sit's massive white walls do far more than enclosed temples. They hold monastic quarters, government offices, ceremonial halls, stores, courtyards, and defensive works inside one occupied stronghold. That concentration gave the Dzong control over movement through the valley. It also placed Bhutanese government, faith, and stored supplies directly beside unstable water. Punakha once served as Bhutan's capital. It later hosted the installation of Bhutan's first hereditary king in 1907. History has not turned it into an empty monument. Monks and civil servants still work inside, while worship, festivals, conservation, and administration compete for the same rooms. The warmer lower valley makes Punakha the winter residence of Bhutan's central monastic body. Seasonal refuge, however, comes with a permanent repair bill. Fires, earthquakes, river floods, and sudden glacial lake outbursts have repeatedly forced reinforcement and reconstruction. Preservation must happen while the building remains occupied. At Punakha, endurance is measured in walls repaired again and again, while prayer and government continue behind them. The Potala makes altitude look monumental. Its quieter struggle is keeping more than 1,000 rooms usable on a steep hill. Nearly 4 centuries ago, builders began fitting the present Potala to Marpo Rai above a much older royal residence. They did not flatten the hill. Thick masonry walls, timber chambers, steep stairs, courtyards, and roofs were forced into its contours, making altitude part of the architecture. The White Palace held residence and government. The Red Palace concentrated chapels, assembly halls, murals, manuscripts, statues, and memorial stupas behind the same massive shell. Until 1959, the palace joined winter residence, religious authority, and Tibetan government. Today, it serves as a controlled museum, place of worship, political symbol, and UNESCO World Heritage Site. Now its survival depends on control. Time to access, security checks, fixed routes, visitor limits, and conservation. Pilgrims still circle the hill and worship inside. Heavy feet wear old surfaces. Dry air works on timber and paint, while the wooden interiors demand constant protection from flame. Its scale can disguise its fragility. Stone and timber survive only through controlled feet, guarded flames, fixed routes, and continuous repair. Pilgrims reach for sacred water that is cold enough and high enough to make even a brief washing dangerous. Lake Manasarovar is freshwater, yet nearby Lake Rakshastal is saline, two neighboring basins divided by chemistry and religious meaning. South of Kailash, Manasarovar is sacred to Hindus, Buddhists, Jains, and Bon followers. Its Sanskrit name is often interpreted as the Lake of the Mind. Pilgrims travel long distances to pray, meditate, collect water, or wash at the shore. None of these acts escapes the altitude. Cold immersion drains body heat quickly. Wind, dehydration, ultraviolet exposure, and low oxygen turn minor exertion into heavy labor, especially for recent arrivals. Birds use the freshwater in suitable seasons, but cold, sparse vegetation and a short growing period restrict the wider ecosystem. Seasonal ice, precipitation, evaporation, glacier conditions, and shoreline movement can change habitat and access. The lake is not a fixed resource, however permanent it appears. Roads, lodges, vehicles, and collection points ease pilgrimage, but concentrate waste and disturbance along limited stretches of shore. Devotion may be vast, but the safe margin is small. Exposure time, warm shelter, waste control, and medical access decide what the shore can bear. The world's highest summit is only the final link in a supply chain built across air too thin for the body to repair itself. Komolongma rises nearly 8,900 meters on the Tibet-Nepal border, above roughly 8,000 meters. Full acclimatization is no longer possible. The northern approach crosses a dry, wind-exposed plateau toward Rongbuk Monastery and controlled areas near base camp. Cloud and blowing snow can still erase the summit after the entire overland journey. That hidden summit corrects a mistake. This mountain is not the work of one climber. Drivers and yak handlers feed the route before Tibetan and Sherpa workers carry the burden higher. They establish camps, secure routes, cook, guide, read forecasts, manage communications, and carry oxygen. Each task burns more energy because every breath delivers less. Permits and short weather windows decide when teams move above 8,000 meters. Judgment, coordination, sleep, and recovery deteriorate, even with bottled oxygen. Hard wind, unstable ice, crowding waste removal, and limited rescue capacity can stop an expedition. Retreating glaciers further shift routes and camp access. The summit photograph hides the chain below it. Drivers, yak handlers, cooks, guides, and route workers spending strength where the body cannot fully recover. Narrow farms survive where two mountain ranges appear to leave no room for agriculture. North of Leh, the Nubra and Shyok rivers cut green corridors between the Karakoram and Ladakh ranges. That green depends on snow and glacier melt, diverted through village channels. It feeds barley, wheat, peas, mustard, vegetables, fruit, and sea buckthorn. When the flow weakens, fields contract. Poplar and willow break the wind and provide timber. Beyond them, Hunder's dunes are river sediment lifted and reworked by wind. not an isolated sand desert. Even the two-humped Bactrian camels carry a double economy. Once tied to caravan routes towards Central Asia, they now earn money through short rides and photographs. Diskit Monastery and its 32-meter Maitreya statue look across this narrow zone of settlement. The monument appears secure. The supply beneath it is not. The road over Kardungla climbs to about 5,400 meters, where breathing becomes work. Residents, supplies, tourists, and heavy military traffic share this exposed route. Guest houses create jobs, but also draw on water, electricity, building material, and waste disposal. Nubra's green ends exactly where meltwater and road access do. Beyond that line, the desert is still in charge. Beyond the plateau, K2 turns the same dependence into a more isolated gamble. Every tent, rope, and oxygen cylinder travels for days before technical climbing begins. It rises about 8,600 meters in the Karakoram, on the border of Pakistan-administered Gilgit-Baltistan and China's Xinjiang region. It is neither in Tibet nor in the Himalayas. Most teams approach through Pakistan, following a multi-day route along the Baltoro Glacier toward Concordia and base camp. Balti porters carry food, fuel, tents, ropes, oxygen, and personal equipment across that distance. The climb depends on their labor before the mountain even steepens. On the Abruzzi spur, rock and ice rise sharply. Exposed traverses offer little shelter, and severe storms leave few options for rescue. Near 8,200 meters, the bottleneck passes beneath unstable seracs. A collapse can strip away fixed ropes and cut the route back down. High wind can hold teams inside tents while food, fuel, oxygen, and permit days keep shrinking. Distance then compounds every problem because evacuation is slow. Distance is not background on K2. It turns a shrinking weather window or broken route into an evacuation measured in days. One of Asia's most revered mountains is defined by the summit no pilgrim is allowed to claim. The peak rises roughly 6,600 meters in western Tibet, while the sacred circuit runs about 50 kilometers. Four faiths give Kailash different meanings. All meet the same physical law. Altitude governs every act of devotion. Most circuits begin near Darchen and take about 3 days. The hardest ground climbs Drol Mala, more than 5,600 meters above sea level. There, wind strips heat, snow obscures the route, and thin air cuts the pace. Dehydration deepens the strain, even at a slow walk. Most Buddhist and Hindu pilgrims move clockwise. Bon practitioners traditionally move counterclockwise. Some advance through repeated full-body prostrations, extending the hardship far beyond 3 days. This endurance needs a supply chain. Drivers, guides, cooks, medical staff, porters, and animal handlers keep movement possible in this remote region. Climbing is prohibited, and no ascent has been reliably confirmed. Kailash shifts achievement away from conquest. The task is to circle, not to summit. Kailash reverses the usual mountain story. Achievement means accepting the limit, circling without conquest, and paying in cold distance and oxygen. No city fell here. Erosion made the skyline. Ancient lakes and rivers laid down the silt, clay, sand, and gravel, now carved into the Zanda earth forest. Uplift raised and tilted those layers. As the basin drained, streams cut downward, exposing towers, ridges, ravines, and long earthen faces. The land is still being cut apart. Rain widens gullies, wind removes loose grains, frost splits exposed cliffs, and gravity pulls unsupported sections into the ravines. After storms, runoff can open new channels. Freeze and thaw loosen cliff faces, and undercut ground can give way without warning. That instability turns movement into recurring labor. Roads descend between eroded walls, but debris and washouts interrupt travel and force repairs across the same vulnerable ground. Villages and cultivated patches occupy rare, flatter areas where soil can be worked and water diverted. Cars, houses, and fields reveal the true scale of formations that can look small from above. Nirbi Separang contains human construction. These formations are entirely geological. Their resemblance matters, but their origins must remain separate. At Zanda, every maintained road, diverted stream, and planted field demands repeated labor because wind, water, and frost keep cutting the ground around them. Leh gathers the region's pressures into one urban limit. A growing high desert city runs on water released by mountain ice. At around 3,500 meters, seasonal melt must reach homes, fields, and orchards. The old bazaar and 17th century Lee Palace recall a caravan center linking Kashmir, Tibet, Central Asia, and the Indian Plains. Today, the airport, highways, military installations, schools, hospitals, offices, hotels, and trekking businesses make Leh Ladakh's main service and transport center. Growth brings jobs, education, healthcare, and easier movement. But every new room, bathroom, restaurant, and garden draws from the same limited flow. Traditional channels and storage ponds must divide seasonal water among households, orchards, and fields. The timing is unforgiving. Summer brings a large visiting population just when farms need irrigation, while construction adds still more demand. The pressure does not stop at the tap. Traffic, packaged waste, sewage, higher housing costs, and building on flood-prone ground follow the town's expansion. Growth increases dependence. More food arrives by air or road, while water, waste systems, and transport face the same short summer peak. Leh can add roofs faster than the mountains can release water. Its modern strength rests on a supply no road, market, or government can command. A working monastery occupies a cliff where every sack of food and beam of timber must be hauled uphill. Tiger's Nest stands more than 3,000 meters above sea level, about 900 meters above Bhutan's Paro Valley. The route is not a single climb. It rises through pine and rhododendron forest, drops beside a waterfall, crosses a ravine, then climbs again by steep stairs. Pack animals can cover part of the approach. Monks, workers, pilgrims, supplies, and emergency crews still face the final narrow section on foot. Tradition says Padmasambhava reached this cliff on a tigress and meditated in a cave during the 8th century. The complex was founded around it in the late 17th century. Sacred purpose fixed the location, but altitude keeps setting the price. Thin air slows the body, and distance turns routine maintenance into hard transport. Fire exposed that weakness in the late 1990s, damaging much of the timber complex beyond easy reach. Reconstruction preserved traditional forms, and Taksang reopened 7 years later. It remains a working religious site, with controlled movement, shrine access, and interior photography. Fire made the dependency visible. Every replacement beam still has to reach the cliff. Namso's horizon promises room, but a hurried step on its shore reveals the opposite. Thin air and wind keep human movement on a narrow margin. Namso lies north of Lhasa beneath the Ninchan Tongla range, where cold wind and low oxygen turn ordinary movement into work. The saline Heavenly Lake is sacred to Tibetan Buddhists and Bon practitioners. Caves, hermitages, and ritual sites bind belief to the Tashi Door Peninsula. Access now carries another economy: roads, buses, guest houses, food stalls, and controlled viewpoints. Seasonal income arrives with traffic, waste, and pressure on fragile ground. Altitude collects its price quickly. Headache, nausea, poor sleep, dizziness, and breathlessness can follow a rapid climb, while cold and exertion raise the danger. Beyond the managed shore, herders still depend on pasture, while kayaks and migratory birds occupy the wider basin. A shift in lake level can alter all three worlds at once. Winter ice, summer waves, and sudden squalls can remake the shore within hours. Even the Holy Elephant Gate confirms that erosion continues to cut the shore. The vast shore hides a narrow human margin. Shelters, meals, and rituals all answer to thin air, hard wind, and moving water. The plain lesson, as I see it, is that endurance here is not a legend. It is a daily expense. Roads can shorten a route, rail lines can push supplies over frozen ground, engines can climb passes that once isolated regions, but none can repeal altitude, cold, or thin air. A weak harvest, a frozen channel, or a closed pass still reaches every kitchen. That pressure will sharpen as glaciers retreat, snowfall grows less reliable, and distant cities draw more water from the same high ground. The plateau is often treated as an empty frontier. It is not. Its ice feeds rivers, its passes anchor borders. Its monasteries carry traditions across nations. The way governments divide and protect that water, while keeping high settlements supplied, will measure the engineering power and political judgment of this age. Continue with this series as it follows the hard edge of habitation, where altitude, cold, and scarcity price every ordinary task, and engineering can sustain settlement without ever mastering the land.